Okay, we are on day 2 of the motor gearbox friction cork roller challenge. So I'm here pretty much alone, and I've got the motors all off. So I'm going to see if I can't remove the gearbox. I'll try to be as careful as possible because I imagine it's heavy and fragile. But I'll just get you attached to the frame there so you can see what's going on, and we'll go to it and see what happens. Okay, cool. So, big wrench. There's some nuts up here that I gotta knock loose. There we go. This camera doesn't have a viewfinder on it, so I can't really see what you're seeing, but I hope it's useful.
It's really hard to get in here.
If that's all that needs to come out, because these are threaded too, so I bet these just need to come out. What size are they? Bigger than a 1/2 inch. I could just use pliers, I guess. Or this works. Okay, that's the bearing box. That doesn't move. That's for the other side, so that's got to go back. Bearing box, you got to stay right where you are. Put that right back on there. I just want to start the motor real quick on this side just to make sure the fact that I loosened the bearing box didn't screw everything up. There we go. Oh, sounds real good. So this one obviously has to go. Okay, so there's this center shaft, there's a collar. Center shaft goes through collar, then there's this middle piece here that's threaded on the outside. This is not coming out, I don't think. So, gearbox is loose. These two are completely free, so I should be able to go around the other side and lift it off. Let's move the camera down. There we go. Alright. Don't know if this is going to work. Cross your fingers. Oh, I'm going to need to loosen those bottom nuts. Yep, we're going to need to loosen them. Okay. Do you see it moving? Yeah, right. Let's try that again. Wow. There we go. So here's this assembly, here's how that works. This screws all the way in, ends up poking out the bottom. And there's a nut on the bottom here as well. That's what it looks like. I didn't screw this in all the way, but I was going to take it out again, so here it is. There's the mounting assembly. Alright, let's put you there. Now what we're looking at, 2 cork rollers. And on the other side, they slip into a bearing box, which we also have to take off, which is what I'm going to do next. And this gearbox, put it somewhere for safekeeping. So the bearing box here, we don't have to take it off completely, we just have to loosen it, I believe. Let me grab the instructions. Here we go. Unclamp upper pivot screw by loosening lock nut and back off pivot screw to allow gear case to be removed. Unclamp upper pivot screw on bearing box by loosening lock nut next to bearing box and back off pivot screw sufficiently to give bearing box the amount of play required in manipulating the rolls during their removal. So we're going to have to take the pressure off this just like we did with the other one here. That. I'll get my rag because this is super oily. Percussive maintenance. For all you guys and girls watching this, how many times have you had a tough nut or bolt to get out and then you slam your hand against something sharp? It's fun, right? There we go. Lock nut loose. So, backstory here is that I need to get this bearing box apart, but it looks like it was sealed together with some kind of adhesive or something that dried, and now the screws are completely tight.
Something to think about is if you get them really, really good and hot, it becomes easier to wreck the screws with.
Yep, I know, that's why I'm...
Okay. How many screws?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, 7. I don't know.
So this is the bearing on the far end of the roller.
Yep.
The one that's driven from here.
Yep.
Okay.
Over right there.
I think these are fairly long screws because I see projections behind this plate in the main body of the box that these screws very likely go into, so bigger head has more leverage overall, but once I get it cracked, I don't want to chew up the slot in the middle of the screw with the big head.
Watch out, don't get the multiple on fire. Get some
Oil there, yeah. I'm gonna take it easy on that one for now. Chuck, if you could back up a little bit. I don't know if maybe that is all that one needs, but I don't want to create too much smoke. Nope. Needs more.
Do you have any brake clean?
what?
Brake clean?
Brake clean or one of those.
I have some at my house.
solvents? That would get rid of the oil.
Yeah, and also it would evaporate a lot more quickly, which would be nice.
Wonder if this glue is just solidified oil.
No, it's definitely some kind of
Yeah.
bonding material. I, you know, maybe some kind of crazy, insane gasket material or something, because I'm sure these things leaked like crazy, and I bet that if they ever opened this, you know, back in 1950 or whatever, that whoever opened it decided that it never needed to be opened again, and it would be better just to permanently close it and let it be someone else's problem, right?
And make sure that the adhesive they use in 50 years turns to raw.
Yeah. I'm gonna try my small screwdriver. Seems to chew up the heads less, even though there's less torque. Yeah. That was what James May would call a heavy grunt. For those of you who haven't seen James May, the assembler, the reassembler, I would highly recommend it.
I'm gonna bug out. Looks like your things are well under control.
Have a good night, Chuck. It was good to see you.
No, you're letting me.
I'll work on it more.
Okay.
Later, Chuck. I grew up in a house without a fireplace, and I haven't really worked with machines, so I'm not super familiar with thresholds for burning. And so I get real nervous when anything's on fire.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's better to be nervous than not nervous, I suppose.
Yeah.
My dad, I grew up in a family that had too many broken cars, and a dad who had a whole barn to himself.
That'll do
So
it.
he used fire constantly on all the farm equipment, and tractors, and stubborn nuts and bolts. And he was almost careless with it. He set himself on fire a couple times. He set one of his cars on fire, but he put it out before it caused any damage. You know,
Yeah.
he was too cool for safety,
Oh, I know the kind.
which is why I'm a little bit too cool for safety. Because I grew up being too cool for safety. But I'm learning slowly that pain hurts. Yeah. For those of you playing along at home, I could tell you that there's no way I'd be getting these things out if it wasn't for this torch. Yes, melt. Melt and burn.
I wonder if it's just the heads that are glued or the threads as well.
Looks like the thread's got some chunky stuff on them, at least up at the top.
Ooh.
I bet they applied it to the mating surfaces between the two plates, the cover and the main body. And I bet when they put the screws in, whatever was smeared all over the place just got sucked in by the screws when they were being driven in.
Yeah.
is move this gearing box out towards the decoder, or out towards the decoder connector, because I need to get back in here, and I can't do that when the gearing box is in position. So what I'm going to do, and this can be moved out a little bit. I already had it out last night. That one's going to be severely unfun. Nope, okay, wait a minute, it just came anyway. Alright, I don't have to light it on fire. Let's just try this last one for shits and giggles. Here, I'm gonna use this. Nope. You can just keep it up there though, that'd be great. I'm gonna try a big screwdriver. What I also wanted to do besides seat it was give it a little tap to jostle free whatever was still binding it. You can let that go. We're good. We're done.
You can't really get out of easy.
Well, I need to wait for it to cool. Even if I take it out now, I'm going to grab it with my fingers and it's going to burn my hand.
Oh, there's like little drips coming out there.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's because I think there's actually 2 oil pans in here. This one's the top one, and I emptied the bottom one.
Okay.
But, you know, the other half of me is, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because this has been such a pain in the butt to get off that if I have to drip a couple ounces of oil onto a rag,
Yeah.
I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
It's good.
That's the assembly I tried to take off last night. It's like a guardrail. Because I thought that maybe the rollers weren't coming out simply because I couldn't move them enough. But I ended up taking that apart and dropping some pieces into the roller shaft. So that's fun. Ooh, look, gluey. So there's the inside surface of the bearing box. Definitely wants to be cleaned. Looks like these are oil channels.
Oh, that's the oil pump thing?
Yep, oil pump is this. Alright, so these 2 gears are the oil pump. It pumps it up, down. It's a little oil channel to get the oil up here, and then it drips back down. Now, I don't see a circlip or anything holding this roller.
Is that the end of the roller?
Yeah.
It's got a gear on it.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the top one and push it towards me.
Actually, I want to take the bottom one and push it towards me a little bit. Here's a hammer if you need it. Yeah, you got to lift them up. They're actually hanging down right now. You have to lift up the top one and the bottom one. It's kind of a bitch. Ah, there you go. Hey, there we go. Okay. So, yep. Is there any way you can turn it? I realize it's not going to be easy. Okay. Yep, I don't see anything holding it in. Though that gear looks pretty gross. Well, the gear itself is holding it in. Probably going to be a puller that I have to get to pull that gear off. Interestingly, there's nothing holding the top roller in at all, so I don't know why that doesn't just slide out. Do you want to try to slide it out and I'll see what happens?
Sure.
Remember, you might have to lift it a little bit.
It's too far out.
Oh, it's coming out. Boop, here it comes. Burp.
Where's the chin?
Oh. Cork roller. Of course, this isn't the one we want.
No, but it's the one we got. This is the first time someone's seen one of these in ages.
Yeah. Oh. Trying to get too much oil on it.
So how worn would you say this one is?
Barely.
Alright. There's a very different quality toward the end. And that's steel right there.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty heavy. I'm not holding it with my hands because I don't want to get oil on it. But it's fairly heavy.
If you want to grab that end, I'll grab this end.
Okay, grab it. Oh, watch the lamp.
Yep. I
I left it in a really good place.
Yeah. Where should I go?
I guess we could put it on one of those tables out there for now.
Walking towards Phone Museum.
How about the back table?
Alright.
This was what I used to support it last night when I was here. And I was trying to keep it from falling down. Because once it comes out of the bearing box and the gearbox, I kind of just... Look, here's these two scars. That's from me trying to rip it out. Though the discoloration, I'm not sure what that is. It might just be more hands have touched it there. And then looks like I got oil all over it in the middle. Okay, well that's clearly the easier of the two. Unfortunately, it's not the one that we want. So, I guess I have to get a bearing puller. Although it seems like the bearing puller I need is a really specific size because, you know, I don't have a lot of room on the outside of that gear. I don't have a lot of room to get some feet back there. But I might be able to make one, which I've done before, just with a threaded rod and some kind of hooks that won't bend. I'll check the toolbox, see if there's a bearing puller of some sort in there, though I don't think there is. I mean, let me rephrase that. There is, but I don't know if it's for what we need it for. Here's a bearing puller.
That's a little small.
Here's a bearing pusher. Here's another pusher. Actually, this has the right tip on it. And I don't know what this tool's for. Never needed to use it. Might be for sequence switches. But probably not going to help us. Well, alright. I guess that's that for today. I'll send Eric a picture. I'll see if he's got a bearing puller. Stay tuned for part 3 of the roll removal saga thing.